Welcome back to Talkin Shop with ShopSabre. I'm Brandon. I'm here again with Jesse.
Hey, Brandon, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. So, we're going to kick off a little episode on frame technology today.
Exciting.
Is it really, though, Jesse?
Yeah, it is. It's important.
It is?
Yeah, we need to discuss
excited
this.
about it.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's a very important part of the machine.
Okay, good. I'm glad we're both excited now. You didn't sound excited.
Don't judge my enthusiasm.
Wake up! Well, give me a little bit more enthusiasm.
All right, I'm ready. Let's go.
All right, let's
jump into
go.
this.
Here we go. Hey, Jesse.
Yeah.
It's the holiday weekend.
I'm so pumped for the long weekend. What are you going to do over the weekend? You got racing?
I might go racing.
All right.
Might think about CNC machines.
I probably won't, to be honest with you. I'm going to enjoy that time off.
Fair enough. No, but before the holiday weekend, I figured what better thing to talk about than frame technology.
Yeah, it sounds like it goes perfect together. Memorial Day weekend, frame technology.
That's the two things I think of.
That's the first thing I thought of.
Cool, perfect. I'm glad that we're both on the same page. So the reality is when you buy a CNC machine, you have to buy a frame.
Really?
Yeah.
That's part of it?
Where it starts.
Okay.
So, I think the big thing to talk about here is that the frame is basically the foundation. It's like your house.
Yeah.
At the start of this whole thing, that's where it starts. That the frame itself is what we build off of. So, just like a house, if the foundation's not very good, the rest of the house isn't really worth anything.
Right. It's one of the most important pieces of the machine, I would say.
Absolutely. And so, one thing that you look at is, what I always say is what gives, right? What gives about frame technology? Or in our case,
what doesn't give?
What doesn't give, exactly, because it's our frames. Our frames are pretty heavy duty.
Our frames are solid.
Yeah, they're pretty heavy duty. Let me tell you about a time I ran into one with a forklift.
Yeah, let's hear about this.
Actually, it wasn't a forklift.
What was it?
It was my dad's car.
Oh, no!
So yeah, that's the funny thing about it. Is the forklift was my dad's car, but I always tell my dad that. So, yep, we backed a car into a frame one time, and the car lost.
It did.
It did. But
what kind of car was it?
I don't even remember. It was a car from years ago, and I crashed my dad's car into it, and well, he was less than impressed.
Were you grounded?
No, I didn't get grounded.
Wow.
Oh, I was old enough to not get grounded yet.
I feel like you spent most of your life grounded.
I did. But nevertheless, so back to the frame. The frame technology, though, it's really heavy duty stuff here. And when you think about our frames, I mean, there isn't a machine that we build that the frame isn't a welded structure.
Right.
And there's a lot of frames out there that are bolted together. And, people look at it as bolt togethers versus welded technology, pros and cons. And let's be honest, one of the cons to a welded frame is it doesn't move.
Right. Can't take it apart.
You're not taking it apart. And there are applications and there are people out there that say, well, I have to take it apart and be able to piece by piece put it together, right? That's probably not the type of machine that you're looking at a ShopSabre for, right?
Yeah, unfortunately,
But there is a class of machines out there that are that way. And so some of the users or some of the listeners, that are, following us right now probably have those type of machines. And there are a time and place for them. And, I'm not here to tell you that those machines don't work, because the reality is ShopSabre used to build a bolt together frame as well. I mean, a ways back, we used to build bolt together frames. They weren't as rigid of a machine. They didn't perform like the machines today. ShopSabre's kind of moved really heavily into the production world, and we've been fortunate enough that the market has really allowed us to go there. A lot of our customers have expected that of us. We really don't do much with bolt together machines at all anymore. We've really taken a lot of pride in being a more precise machine.
Right.
And I think bolts, the one thing that if I can speak, kind of openly, is, bolts come free. They loosen themselves up, and the problem with that is now your machine's changing tolerance.
Right. Yeah, you got a machine that's moving, bolted together, the vibrations, harmonics. You could have bolts loosen up, so you got to constantly be checking that stuff.
Exactly. And, it's one of those things where you said the harmonic side of it, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that is a big part of why we weld the frames, is that we don't want the harmonics causing other issues. And the more the frame can work as one, the better the cut quality typically is going to be in the end. And, there's also a huge difference in not just bolting the machines together, but the material that's used.
Right.
We have aluminum versus steel, right?
Yep,
I mean, there's a lot of machines out there that use aluminum. It's not because aluminum's cheaper. Let's be honest. Aluminum's not a lot cheaper than steel, right?
No, it's really not.
It's not the cost difference there, but it's everything else that goes into it. A lot of people, when they're using aluminum, they're not using aluminum, in the way of large aluminum. They're using it in the way of extruded aluminum, and extruded aluminum requires less. It's a bolt together item. It's a lot easier to work with. You're not having to do a lot of machining in most applications for that.
Yep.
So that's the reason they use the aluminum. It's not because it's a cheaper material. It's because it's easier for them to work with.
Right. Lighter, easier on the body.
Yep. And it also comes back to the motors that they're putting on the machine now can be a lighter weight motor because they're carrying less weight. There's a lot of things that kind of come into that, but that's the biggest thing that moves me into milled frames versus non-milled frames, right? When you start looking at that, I mean, a lot of these frames out there aren't milled. I mean, even ShopSabre, you go back 10 years ago, we didn't mill the frames. The frames themselves were a different, technology back then.
But 10 years ago, was that technology really prevalent?
It was. I'm not going to say it wasn't around, but it wasn't as easily accessible. Putting a machine in a mill to mill it takes a pretty heavy duty machine. You've seen
a lot of space. Yeah, I've seen it.
And when you do that, it takes up a lot of building space, but there's not a lot of people that have that space to just kind of, let me put this giant mill in there, right?
Right.
Well, we're fortunate enough that we've over the years been able to use a aerospace mill, and obviously acquired an aerospace mill that we do our stuff on. And the beauty of that is it allows the machine to just be more accurate, because the reality is, again, going back to this frame being the foundation. Well, if you're going to bolt a bearing on there, right, or you're going to bolt something on there that is motion, a ball screw, whatever the case may be, a milled surface is going to allow us to take the tolerance of those ball bearings then, because the steel is no longer the limiting factor. And
right.
That's the difference, is when you start looking at, it goes back to that previous conversation we had about ball screw versus rack and pinion. Rack and pinion machines generally don't have to have a milled frame.
Right. You don't need that precision.
Correct. Because like you said, the precision's just not there. The rack and pinion does have a degree of play. I mean, teeth have, the 3 to 5 thousandths in backlash without any wear factor.
Right.
So you don't have to have as quite of an accurate frame to start with.
Yeah, there's not a huge benefit to aerospace milling those ones.
Correct. And so with the ball screw machines, though, we're upgrading, right?
Yeah.
Putting more technology in the machine. Well, it doesn't make sense. You put upgraded ball screws, you put upgraded motors on there in the Mitsubishi servos in the ShopSabre case.
Yep.
You put all these upgrades in there, but then you don't mill the frame.
You're skipping a step. You're in the corner.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of goes back to, if I put these really high-end cabinets in my house, but I didn't really worry about the foundation, is it really going to make a difference?
Well, no, duh!
Oh, it's going to make a difference in your pocketbook.
Yeah, but
for sure.
Long-term, the structural integrity is just not there.
It's just not there.
And the performance really won't be there long-term,
Absolutely.
And that's really what you're looking at, and then you start looking at machines, and I always tell everybody, look at the frames themselves. A lot of companies have made a living out of putting covers around their machines and shrouds and all this stuff, and aesthetically making it appealing to you.
Yeah,
right?
it's deceptive.
It is. It's very deceptive, because you take those covers off. You've seen it, Jesse. We've been fortunate enough to see some of these machines with the covers off of them. Customers of ours have shown us pictures of certain machines in the field that look really rigid until you take those covers off, and then it's sheet metal behind it.
It's shocking. It's like, wow, really? That's what was behind that cover?
Yeah.
That little frame was behind that cover?
Yeah, I know. It's, I guess I'd put covers over it too if that's what my frame looked like, right?
Yeah, that must be why they do it.
That's exactly it, But it's one of those things where when you look at the different tube sizing, that's one thing you'll see, is that there's a difference in the size of tubes people are using. Tube size matters.
Tube size matters.
No matter what you may have heard, size matters.
But the reality is that the tubes themselves do make a difference in what you're going to get out of rigidity in the machine, the harmonics. It goes back to everything we're dealing with. And especially if you're milling the machine, having more steel there allows you to be more accurate with your milling, because you're not having to worry about weakening the steel. There is a point where if you mill too much off of a too thin of a tube, you're going to have a problem.
It's pretty accurate. It's pretty scientific. Like, you have to be exact.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those deals where you got to make sure you're doing what you need to do with the right material. And I guess the question that I would go back to you, Jesse, is if I have all of this stuff, together, right? We got to determine what size tubes and, what material do I use, and how the heck do we figure that stuff out?
Yeah, we use something here called FEA software. It's really awesome software.
We use it.
Yeah, FIFA. Yeah, we use that software to do things like identify weak problem areas. We use it for heat analysis. You can use it for electromagnetic capabilities as well, making sure that your machine's not electrically charged.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool things that you can do. And the reason I yelled out FIFA, because that's what the guys here call it. I mean, all the guys in the shop, when they hear me say FEA, they just yell FIFA all the time. I'm not sure where anybody came up with FIFA off of it, but
we got a big soccer crowd back there.
We do. We got a bunch of guys that do play soccer back there, but they just yell out FIFA whenever I say FEA.
I like it, though.
So I do too. I like it. But yeah, so FEA software, and FEA is finite element analysis.
Correct.
For anybody who's wondering what the heck that means. And that is the software that is an engineering software. I mean, the beauty of that software is it literally is the same software you would see in buildings and bridges. I mean, people use that in the construction world, and some of you guys listening probably have some experience with it and know what the heck we're talking about. And some of you guys literally have no idea what it is or the importance of it. But the reality is a lot of companies don't use it. And I know it sounds shocking because it's software that's designed for engineering. You'd think that that means everybody uses it. But the reality is just because it seems common sense doesn't mean everybody does it. And that's the difference in what ShopSabre brings to the table. And really for us, when you look at a frame, I would say any frame that you look at, any machine you look at, you really want to make sure that they're doing their due diligence when they're engineering this product, and that's the difference going back to previous topic of American made versus Chinese, right?
You get what you pay for.
Exactly. And when you look at a Chinese product, they're not taking the time to put this in there. They're not doing some of the stuff that you get from an American machine. When you look at the frames, that's the difference in aluminum versus steel. That's the difference in, the milled frames versus non-milled. That's the difference in tube sizing. I mean, you see all of that as you step up in quality.
Absolutely.
And, really, when you kind of get into that, how are they built, right?
Well, we also talked about this before. I mean, you look at the machines that come over from overseas, they all look the same, right? They're just a different color. We've talked about that before. A lot of times I've gotten guys or gals on the phone, and one of the first things that I hear a lot of the time is, your machine is impressive. That thing's a beast.
I wish the internet was easier to show that, because we show all these videos, and yet we still get the comment when the machine shows up at people's shop that they're amazed at how heavy it is, right? We just can't show it off. We tell them how heavy it is. We give them the weights. We show the videos, and yet it still surprises people.
Yeah.
And I love it. Don't get me wrong. That's a great surprise, right? When it shows up better than you thought it was going to. But the reality is how they are built is the difference in what we do. And when you look at the way you build a frame, we got to talk about the start of it, okay? A frame doesn't just magically, it's not like you wave your magic wand at it and then poof, frame.
Oh, I thought the frame fairy came while we were home at night.
That's actually what happens. You put all the steel under your pillow.
And then the
you
frame
go to
fairy
sleep.
comes?
Yeah, the frame fairy comes and then wake up, poof.
And leaves an IS frame under your pillow.
Hey, there we
Hey,
go.
a
Look
sore
what I found
neck this morning.
Yeah, God, I got a
Why?
neck ache, but I woke up with a 6,500 pound frame under my pillow.
My neck. My neck.
That's weird.
Better than a buck that the tooth fairy would have.
Yeah, right. But really, how we're doing that is, we got guys in house that, literally, you see it, Jesse. Truck after truck pulls in with steel here.
It seems like it's daily.
Although I think now they pull in with one of those Brinks security trucks because steel prices are so expensive.
Through the roof.
Yeah, so we got a security guard.
4 armed guards dropping off our steel order.
Yeah, exactly. But no, when you think about it, we do bring a lot of steel in here, and then it has to get cut. We have our own automated saws here that do the cutting to make sure that, for one, it's precision cut. When we say that we need a tube a certain length, it comes out that length. And then when you look at, what happens next, well, those tubes have to go to get welded. And we weld our own frames. We have a whole entire group of welders here.
We have some awesome welders
we do.
here.
They're phenomenal welders. But when you look at how they're welding it, it's not just freehand welding it. I do bring it up because I talked to a customer just today, actually, and he was talking to me about how he's looking at our machine versus some of the competitors, and he said that one thing he liked about our product was it didn't appear to be a one-off machine. And I love the way he described that, because realistically, a lot of the competitors, if they're not using jigs to weld their system, they're a one-off machine, right? It's how good is that welder that day, or how good is that guy's alignment that day. Everything's got its own degree of change, where ShopSabre doesn't have that. When you come in here and you look at it, the way we build our machines, everything goes into a jig.
Yeah.
The machine is going to be built the same way every time, so the frames are going to be very repeatable. And that jig was developed off of a system. We develop what works through engineering, and we do our testing and everything. And once everything's the way it needs to be, through measurement, we create a jig that replicates that product. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's really what you talk about when it's how are things built. Well, jig welding for one. We do build our frames in a jig. They're not one-off unicorns, if you will. You might get some really great products when you got guys building a one-off, right? But you might get some really bad products too.
Absolutely.
How bad of a day is that guy having?
Well, what did he do last night?
Right. There's that.
Trying to weld pie-eyed.
Yeah. Well, you could have the guy who shows up on Tuesday after Memorial Day weekend, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about. But the reality is, that's the difference, is that with us, it doesn't matter what day of the week it is. It doesn't matter who welded it. The frame is going to be square. It's going to be right, because it's got to go through the same steps regardless. And then the after fact of it gets welded, but then it's got to get tested.
Right.
We don't just move it in and, hey, it's done, right? It still has to pass testing. And
it looks good.
Yeah, right? Looks good. No.
Paint
it. Yeah, no, with us, everything's got a test. And somebody's signature is going on that. And that's the thing, is there's a degree of, kind of ownership on it. They have to own their welds. And, Bob says it in past videos that, a welder's signature is essentially his weld. It's the truth.
It's very true.
We can walk up to this and say, okay, this guy welded it. That weld is going to be scrutinized, right? I mean, everybody wants to know whose welds were what.
There's something about a beautiful weld.
It is. And we have guys back there that I tell you, I think those guys compete against each other on purpose, because they want to make sure they have the best looking welds in the building. So it's kind of fun to watch those guys. I mean, it just is remarkable.
It goes back to everything we've already said prior to this, that these guys take a lot of pride in what they do, right?
Yeah.
So they take a lot of pride in the welds that they put in these frames. I think it goes all the way back to that is everyone here has pride.
Yeah.
It's a natural competition.
Maybe I should go back there and weld.
I want to see that.
No, I shouldn't weld.
Don't buy whatever machine he welds.
I won't weld, guys. Don't worry. Just don't worry about that happening.
I won't let you.
But yeah, I
tell your dad.
took metals class.
I'll tell your dad.
You're gonna tell my dad on
Yep.
me? That's unbelievable. I took metals class back in high school, and
You get a D?
what? No, I was actually pretty good at the metals class, but that was unacceptable.
Garrett's just losing it.
Yeah, that
back
was
here, lad.
unacceptable. I was pretty good at welding back in the day, but I'll tell you what, it takes a skill though to maintain the welds. These guys, you really thought that was the best one you came up with ever.
I thought it was pretty good.
It was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. Oh.
I can't weld at all, so I didn't take metals or anything. You don't want me touching any of that.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't rip on you too hard.
Yeah, it's okay. I can absolutely dish it back out. So the reality is though, like I said, those guys are very good. And they're certified welders. That's the beauty about that, is that's why I made that joke about should I go weld? Because the answer is no, I shouldn't, because I'm not certified. And that's something, I mean, we literally have weld tests that people have to pass to get a job here.
Yep.
I mean, it's pretty incredible the amount of people that come in and, take these tests and seeing what they're able to do. It's Chris who runs that department back there. I mean, he's very picky on who he hires and, making sure that we have the right people building this product, because this isn't just something that is a generic build and, we don't really care. This is our product with our name on it. And I think that's the difference of how they are built, and then you talk about even sourcing of the steel, right?
Which is becoming harder.
Yeah. That's something to talk about though, because steel's prices are going up. Let's be honest. Let's talk about the elephant in the room.
Absolutely.
Prices of materials are going up right now. And with that being said, that means costs of manufacturing are either going to go up or people are going to cut corners.
Yep.
And I'll tell you one thing, ShopSabre doesn't cut corners. So unfortunately, the price of steel is going up, and it's just part of the cost of doing business in the United States right now.
Very true.
But when you think about that, you can get Chinese steel. You can get imported steel.
No.
No, that's a bad idea?
That's a bad idea.
Why is that a bad idea?
There's a lot of differences between Chinese steel and American steel, Brandon. Like Chinese steel is 3 times weaker than American steel.
And it's funny that you say that, because somebody in the audience probably is going, no, it's not.
No, it 100% is.
Yeah, it is. That's the difference, is that if you look at the actual steel that you get imported versus North American, there's a quality difference there. And some, I'm sure a lot of you metal fabricators out there who are listening are going, yep, that's true, I've seen it. But you can literally weld on North American steel and then weld on import steel, and you will hear a difference.
Absolutely.
It welds differently.
Well, American steel also is typically 8 times thicker than Chinese steel.
Yeah, and that's and that's what you start looking at, is the way that the raw iron and the raw, what you're dealing with when you start dealing with actual steel. Yep. I believe, Jesse, if I'm not mistaken, the Chinese, steel is somewhat kind of an owned in-house kind of a thing, and there's no regulation against it. The Chinese steel and imported steel is more of a all-in-one, if you will, right?
Absolutely. There's a big difference between the way China does things and the way America does things with our steel plants. Over in China, they own the steel plants, and they also own the mineral caves for mining minerals to make steel. So they control it from beginning to end. So they control the minerals they put into it all the way down to the price, and they don't use the same kind of minerals that we use here in our metals. So you're getting a cheaper steel from China all around.
Man, did you go to school?
No, I just thought I would do a little more research this week so you didn't have to talk as much.
Pretty impressive, man.
I thought this was an important topic.
Yeah,
I told you I
agree.
was excited. See, he fooled you in the beginning.
Yeah, you got me. But no, I mean, in all seriousness, though, I mean, that's the truth, though. We joke around about this, but I mean, Jesse, you obviously you know quite a bit about this stuff, and you've obviously done your homework over the years, and obviously, like you said, you're kind of a student like I am. You just like to learn, and it's more than just CNC machine steel, right? I mean, this goes to everything. That's why people kind of, you always hear people kind of joke about they don't make them like they used to anymore. Well, it's really because they're using Chinese steel now.
They're doing it on purpose.
Yeah, it's not that it's not made the way it used to. It's still made the same way. It's just the material costs have gone down because they're trying to make things cheaper. And honestly, the world's forcing it. It's sad because as things get more expensive, people just go, we got to come down in price. Well, you do realize coming down in price when things are getting more expensive means you're cutting something out somewhere,
You're
right?
coming down on quality.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't just come down on price because you yelled, come down on price. Like,
Perhaps I could lower the price a bit more.
something has to give, right?
Yep.
And this goes back to what gives, right? At that point, your frame gives.
Your frame gives.
Yeah, that's the problem, you know? You're not getting away with backing Dad's car into that one, I'll promise you that.
Not a chance.
But, God, who would do that?
I don't know.
Such a terrible son.
Right.
The reality is, though, when you look at this, the the difference in a ShopSabre frame is it's built for the long haul. It's built something because we're going to give you that lifetime frame warranty.
Spit it out.
Let's try this again.
Lifetime frame warranty are the words we're looking for.
That's what we are. Thank you very much for
I
your
got
help
you,
there.
bud.
God, that was a struggle bus for everything there.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is, though, I don't want to have to worry about the frame failing on you. I want something that's going to last. I want the product that we're putting in the field to be dependable. I can't control every aspect of everything, right? I mean, there's certain things you have to buy. A Mitsubishi motor. I'm not building a better motor than Mitsubishi. I'm going to buy their motor.
And that's where we're just honest with ourselves.
Yep. But there's certain things that I can do better than buying it, and that's building a frame, right?
Absolutely.
I can build a frame better than I can buy it from China.
Yep.
And we've seen it. We've proven it time and time again. I mean, heck, we found frames that aren't even really tubes. They're flat.
They're fake
yeah,
tubes.
They're flat steel that's been bent
Yep.
and then welded together. Like, are you kidding me? That's
High
not
precision. Bent for high precision.
super high precision. But yeah, I mean, the reality is that's the stuff we're up against, and it's like that's the difference between a Chinese machine or an imported machine or whatever country they want to claim it comes out of frame versus a U.S. built machine. I mean, that's the difference. There are more regulations here. Plus, you can drive to my building and then yell at me, and I don't like getting yelled at. So
I like it when they come yell at you, though.
they don't do it though, so you've never seen it.
I know.
So joke's on you. No, seriously though. I mean, it's not one of those things that we have to think about. You know, is how are we going to cut corners? We don't want to do that. Let's just figure out how to make it right. And
we don't cut corners here. Like
Correct.
we talk about that all the time. And I the time I've been here, I haven't seen a quarter cut yet. And you were just talking about the warranty, and that's one thing that shocks me all the time is I don't understand how we have a warranty with the way we build these things. Is we don't have a lot of issues. We don't have a lot of things we have to take care of. We build these things on the idea that we don't want to have issues, so we don't cut those corners.
yeah, well, that's the truth, you know, and I'm glad you kind of jumped into that because why the hell do we care so much, right? I
'Cause I
care
have
because
my
my
name
name.
on
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we both think the same thing. Like,
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I got excited.
That's okay. That's okay. Because I'm glad we're both excited about it because that's exactly the truth. I mean, we are excited that our name is associated with this. How many people do you know that aren't really proud of what they sell or what they're a part of? It's a paycheck. to
It's a
them.
paycheck.
Yeah,
Yep.
and that's not who we are. I mean, we're really here for the sake of we enjoy what we do. Honestly, I love talking to a lot of our customers. I mean, they're the best. It's fun to talk with people, especially people who have come from other machines.
Right.
It's actually more enjoyable for me. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love helping people the first time and they don't have to make that mistake. But the ones who have made the mistake, unfortunately, and had to upgrade, like they're my favorite people to talk to because
Absolutely.
they truly appreciate. I think like it's one of those things like if you don't know what you don't know, right? So
Right.
if your first machine's a ShopSabre,
Then you're
yeah,
good.
you're like, oh, okay, cool.
What else is there to
It's a
know?
good machine, right? Like,
Right.
That's what I say. But guys who have experienced that really bad experience and then they buy a ShopSabre and they're like, this is the greatest thing ever. It's like, it gets you excited.
I love those
Yeah, I know.
follow-up
You're
calls.
like so excited about it because they're so excited that then I get more excited, then you get more excited, then I'm more excited, and suddenly we don't even remember why we're excited. We're just really excited.
Absolutely. I just took a call on this. Rich Fortuna over at North Country Craftsman got his machine landed. First thing he did was call me. He couldn't believe the quality of this machine. The very first thing he did was call and brag about it. Like out of 54 years, he said, or something in business, it was the highest quality machine he's had landed.
Yeah.
That was awesome. To
Yeah.
get that kind of feedback.
That's a fun thing to hear, you know, because that's why we do what we do, you know. And when you talk about it, like you talked about warranty, right? We provide a warranty on everything that comes with the machine, right?
Yes, sir.
And you look at that, it's a lot of these warranties out there are just riddled with holes, you know. It's just, well, this isn't covered and that might not be in. Oh, it's a warranty against. It's a limited warranty. That's my favorite. Have you seen those limited warranties?
Yeah.
It's like they make it sound like it's like a limited edition, you know, like, limited edition warranty, right?
With lots of loopholes.
Let me tell you, limited doesn't mean what you think. It's not like an upgrade. It's a downgrade.
Did you bring your machine in to have it cleaned and inspected every 6 months?
Well, my favorite is if you read that little fine print of warranted against manufactured defects. So you're basically telling me as long as you didn't build it wrong, it's no warranty then?
Perfect. Just what I
Great.
want.
So I depend on you
Peace
to tell
of
me you
mind.
built it wrong. Great. This is going to go well. Hey, my frame doesn't work. Well, we built it right. Sorry.
Thanks.
Thanks. But talk about support. You can't support something that you don't understand,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
Well, I built the frame, so I understand it.
Yep.
So I can help support that too.
Absolutely.
If something's not right, I can go all the way to the root cause of it.
Yep. All the way to the beginning.
Yep. Well, if I bought my frame out of China, who am I calling?
China, right? That'd be my first call, I guess.
What time is it?
2 in the
China right
morning.
now? Yeah.
Get up at 2. Practice my Mandarin. Hey, what's going on with my frame, guys?
I don't think it's going to work.
No, I don't think so either.
I've heard you try to talk English. But talking about cutting quality, you have the ability to think about harmonics and vibration, and that's the first thing that you introduce to a machine when you cut quality. And so it goes back to, why do we care so much? Because I don't want to introduce problems.
Right.
I'm giving
I want
you lifetime
to do
support.
This. Yeah, I want you to do this without issues.
Yeah, like, trust me, it costs me more money when the support costs go up. So
Right.
it's kind of a no-brainer. Just make the machine better. And then you talk about testing them. We talked about that a little bit, but how you build it means even more about how you're going to be able to support it. And all of that, the testing, it's less money long term for me to do more testing now.
Right. Catch the problems before it gets
Correct.
to the customer.
Like that. Well, my thing is, even before that, okay, you build a frame and then you test that frame. And if it doesn't pass, then it doesn't go through paint, through wiring, through everything to get to testing to find out, oh crap, the machine doesn't run.
Right.
Like, let's be honest.
What a
okay?
waste of time that
well,
would
put
be.
yourself in the shoes here, okay? Let's take
I'm
a little
following.
trip.
Yep, let's
take
do
a trip.
this. Here we go.
So, you buy a machine out of China,
Yep.
and then and then the machine gets shipped to the U.S.
It's coming on my boat.
It's on the boat,
Okay.
not your boat. What, they're going to put this on your 12-foot
That's my
Lund?
boat. Yeah, it's my boat. Let's go. My machine's coming.
Okay, you got your machine sitting on Jesse's 12-foot
12-foot Lund. Yep.
Apparently. And it's going to be on its way across here. And then by the time it gets here, it gets unloaded from Jesse's 12-foot Lund. Jeez. We just sound ridiculous. This story's going nowhere. But then it gets here at the facility, and then the person importing it tests the machine.
Yep.
If they test it. Let's be honest. We have few people that don't test them, okay? But there are a few that test them, right?
Yep.
They test them, and the machine doesn't run right.
Do I got to put it back on my Lund?
Well, I'm not sure the Lund floated here in the first place, but the reality is here, that's the truth, though. It's here. What are you going to do?
You're stuck.
Ship
with
it,
Ship it, or you got to try to
right?
fix it.
Or we'll just give them a little bit of money off and make the problem go away, right? Like, there's no fixing it because they don't have the welders.
That's where I was going. How do you fix something that you don't manufacture?
Yeah, they don't have the mills. They don't have anything there. I mean, like, they can't just borrow the part. Like, there's nothing they can do. But the problem is the machine's already assembled. So it's got the paint on it, the sticker on it, it's got the wiring on it, it's got the controller on it, and now you want me to fix the frame.
Enjoy your paperweight.
Yeah, that's my point. That's where these machines that you see on there, they don't cut right and things like that. It starts there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's real world problems, and that's the difference of what you get here is we've tested that frame before it even got to paint.
Yep.
If it didn't pass certain tests that we run it through, it's not getting to paint.
Start over.
We're going to literally cut the frame apart
Yep.
and start over.
Yeah.
Something's not right.
We don't want that to be someone's problem.
Yeah, and that's why jigs exist.
Yep.
Because the more I have to cut a frame and go backwards, right,
Yeah.
the less time efficiency I have there.
Absolutely.
So again, it goes back to when we're building as many machines as ShopSabre is building, or any manufacturer for that matter is building, you don't have time to stop and go backwards. So it makes sense to do the testing and get the jigs right and make sure everything passes, so that way every time something comes off that, it's right, unless something has gone wrong in the manufacturing process, right?
Correct.
And the good thing is if something goes wrong, let's be honest, robots have problems out there, right? There's robots
sure
that
do.
do things. And let's say something does go wrong. We catch it at the source at the time it happened, and maybe we have one bad machine we built, and that machine never makes it to a customer, right?
Well,
it
yeah.
gets caught here, gets trashed. We fix the problem in the manufacturing. We go back to building really great machines.
Yep.
Versus China, same thing, running their machine or whatever they got going on over there, and something goes wrong, or the jig's wrong, right? They use the wrong jig, and they weld 275 frames before it finally gets through customs and gets over here because they got a 16-week shipping time on Jesse's Lund. And by the time it gets here, they've built 275 machines that are problem-filled somewhere in the world. Like, oh, hope nobody else catches it, right?
Well, maybe those customers don't need to cut square.
Yeah, maybe that's it. You're good news. You bought the first model that cuts zigzags really well.
Perfect.
Right? Like, can't cut squares.
That's the model I wanted.
Oh, you didn't tell us you were cutting squares. This was the non-square model. Dang it. They put the label wrong on there.
Dang it.
But, man, I'm really hung up on this Lund thing. I'm just picturing an IS frame.
I've been thinking about it the whole
Lund.
time. Like, maybe that machine's messed up because I took it on my little boat.
Jeez. I'm just picturing you in this Lund and this frame and you trying to hold on to the two
Just
of them.
navigating the ocean with a machine on my lawn.
God, I can just picture it right now. This is Gilligan's Island. But, let's ask one question here, Jesse. True or false? ShopSabres are overbuilt.
False.
You got the
Did I get it right?
You got it right.
Yes.
We've heard it all. ShopSabres are overbuilt. The gantries are too tall, right? We've heard people talk about they use too much steel. Like, what? Does that exist? And then, the size of the frame doesn't matter. That's my favorite one.
Yeah. Says
the guy with
everyone
the small
with
frame.
a little frame.
Yeah, exactly. But the reality is there is some truth to certain things if you think about it in the correct context, right?
Right.
Can you make a gantry too tall? Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you don't engineer it correctly, you can't raise the bridge any higher than the engineering allows, right?
Right.
Going back to FEA. The reason we use FEA, because then we know that if we want 12 inches of gantry clearance, the tubes have to be X amount of size, and there needs to be certain things thought in for inertia and yada, yada, yada. I'm using words that don't really matter, but...
Words I don't even know.
Yeah, I saw your eyes there. You're still thinking about your 12-foot Lund. But the reality is when you think about that, we put a larger gantry on there because of the fact that we want to do more, with the machine. We want to be able to have 12 inches of clearance, so that's where our gantry uprights come from. And that's where the gantry gets a little bit larger in size. That's why we do some of the things we do to make sure the machine is structurally, stronger and has a better, overall build quality for doing more versatility with the machine. Then you go back to and talk about steel. Can you put too much steel in a machine? I suppose if you really wanted to say yes, that you could, but
A lot of variables there.
yeah,
though.
I mean, there's some machines coming in from over the ocean here, or the pond, or whatever you want to call it,
On my Lund.
on his Lund. There's some machines that actually put concrete in the frame,
What?
believe it or not.
That I did not know.
Yeah, they fill the frames full of concrete. You know why they do that?
To make it heavy.
And then guess what? It doesn't vibrate as much when it's heavy. So they overcome
sounds
everything.
terrible.
Well, yeah, go back 10 years ago, 15 years, 20 years ago. Machines were like ginormously heavy and I just used a bunch of words there that I don't think work together. But
Ginormously heavy. I got it.
I like that. Ginormously heavy.
Yeah, goes with your
but they
welding
are.
skills.
Yeah, there's a lot of weight to some of these machines out there. And so it kind of, I always say like the old school buyers, like you can talk to an old school guy who's used to buying equipment. And he's like, how heavy is your machine is the first question. And he does it because like back in the day, machines needed to be just ginormous.
That determined quality.
Yeah, because they didn't vibrate then. Well, fast forward, and things have gotten lighter while maintaining rigidity. And there's a point where you can only go so light, again, getting down to it. But the goal for people was to increase machine speeds. Well, if you look at some of these huge machines out there, they're notoriously slow.
Well, that's a lot of weight to push.
Correct. So you start getting into a situation where a lot of these big machines aren't as quick. We have, again, watch an aerospace mill move. They're not lightning.
Not fast.
No, they're not lightning. They're slow, but they're giant machines.
Yeah.
And the reality is, yes, they have certain things they can do, but it comes back to in a world that we live in today where everybody wants everything tomorrow built yesterday,
Yep.
is you can't afford to be slow. So these machines need to get faster.
Yep.
But as they get faster, they can't lose cutting quality. So they still have to stay rigid. And that's where FEA comes in. It's kind of like an F1 car. When you look at an F1 race car, they're getting faster and the cars are getting, better and better and better, but they're lighter. Right? I mean,
Right.
You're gaining performance, but losing some of the mass to it. And
Yep.
again, there comes back to a point where mass does help you, and there's certain things when you're dealing with, collisions.
Right.
It's
It's got to be the right amount of mass.
Correct. And, as you talk about collisions, it's the bit making contact with the material. You're creating, some force there. So you definitely have certain areas that you just have to have mass. But the difference of where we're going with this is when you start looking at how a machine is built and where the frame is, where the metal is in the steel. Like there's a right and wrong place to put steel. And
Correct.
there is definitely a point where you don't have enough steel. Like
Right.
there's certain things that steel helps with, and having the steel in the right spots and the welds made at the right spot and the brackets and whatever you're doing will make a difference in the overall performance of that machine. And it goes back to the size of the steel tubes in the certain spots make a difference, so you don't have to fill it full of concrete.
That blows my mind.
Yeah. And so you start looking at it, and there's a lot of things with that. And, again, going back to an aerospace frame, right? An aerospace frame requires less setup because the whole frame is milled together. So You don't have to have this laser leveled pad, and you're not sitting there having to bolt your machine down to the floor. You can get away with a lot less in your setup time, which again helps us as a manufacturer sell you a product, because now you don't have to wait for my guys to get out there to make sure the machine is running right.
Right.
Because it's going to drop on your floor and go to work.
In place within hours, making cuts.
Exactly. And, what should I expect from that, right? Well, when you're looking at, when you're buying a machine, what should you expect? You should expect a better machine then, right? If they're doing all these things, you should expect more from your machine, right?
Absolutely.
And, what to look for when you're buying. Let's just put it out there, right? Okay, if I'm a guy looking at buying a CNC right now, grab a piece of paper and write this down, because there's a few things that I would say that I really think that no matter what you're buying, maybe it's not a ShopSabre, maybe it has nothing to do with a router that we can build you. You're just buying something and you want to know, what do I look at? The reality is, ask the questions. Ask, where is it made?
Who am I
Start
buying
there.
from?
And I know it sounds crazy that you're asking the question, but it's not just about being American made because it's American made. It's because there are certain things that are done in the U.S. when it comes to manufacturing that are not done anywhere else. So find out who's making it. Find out where that's done. Ask them that question. Make them tell you the USA.
People don't do that anymore. I found that out yesterday.
Yeah.
I was at Ace Hardware and I asked for something. I said, "Hey, do you have this made in America?" And the guy looked at me. The guy had 3 eyes. Like, what? You're
Well,
asking for an American-made product? Like,
You have 3 eyes. But
that's a nose.
it's
It's big, but it's a nose.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, you're right though. I mean, you are right there. Is people just don't ask the question enough.
Ask.
I feel like it's actually kind of sad. People call us up on the phone, and I get on the phone with them, and they're like, "Well, what's something I should be asking you?" And I'm like, "Where it's made." Like, they don't even ask me. They ask me all these other crazy questions, but they never asked me where it's made. And I'm like encouraging them, please ask me where it's made, because I'm proud it's in America.
Right.
Like,
And
I
we
want
wanna
them,
tell you.
Yeah, like I want to brag about that, because to me it's a huge thing. And there are still a lot of people that do ask, and thank you everybody who does still
Yeah,
shop you. I
absolutely.
mean, that's a huge market right now. But as prices go up, let's go back in time a little bit, and you look back when notoriously the economy has struggled.
Yep.
And when the economy has struggled, generally speaking, importing has been really popular during those periods.
They have been.
And I can't help but say, I think it's a direct correlation there. When you start sending your money somewhere else, you're going to hurt yourself too. The
Yep.
economy's going to get hurt from that. And so we're in a really kind of sensitive time right now, let's put it.
I agree with you.
If people don't just kind of, let's push our way through it. Yeah, it's going to cost us a little bit more right now, but we'll get there.
The more people that support America, the more we keep China out.
Exactly, and that's what I agree about that. So, again, this is really about that. I mean, when you look at frame technology, you got to keep the money where you're doing business. In the U.S. here, is a big part of that. And making sure that the frames are built there is a big part of what you're doing. Your support's going to be better. So, again, first question I would ask, who makes it? Second question I would ask them, is how is it made? Is it welded or is it bolted together? Let's find that out.
Yep.
Find out that answer, because, again, bolts come loose. And the last thing you want is something you have to put together yourself, in my opinion, because who are they going to blame when something's not right?
Me.
They're going to blame the guy that put it together.
Yep.
Right? You didn't put it together right.
There's a good chance I mess it up if I put it together, though.
There is that. There's that.
That's a good question to start with.
Yeah.
Jesse put it together? Yeah,
Yeah.
take it apart.
Take it apart. It's wrong.
Brandon welded it?
Brandon welded it. Jesse put it together. It's
Start
wrong.
over.
Start over.
This sucks.
The next thing I would ask him is, what's it made of?
Yep.
Right?
Components.
So number 3, components. What's it made of? Where is it got aluminum? Where does it have steel? I want to know that.
Yep.
Right? If everything's made out of aluminum, if they're saying extruded, if they're saying words like that, or if they're tippy-toeing around the question, well, we got this some steel here, and how much of it's made out of steel?
Where's your steel come from?
Is it tubes?
We found that out today. Your steel matters.
Yep. Find that stuff out. That's an important part of that. So that's number 3 you want to ask. And then ask them, is it milled? If not milled, why? There's applications where you can say, no, it's not milled, but here's why.
Might make sense.
Right? Let's just talk about ShopSabre, right?
Yeah.
You're going to ask me if it's milled on every machine, and I'm going to tell you no, not on every machine. I'm not going to tell you yes.
Right? Because we have applications where we don't do it.
Correct. My 23, milled. My RC, not milled.
Not milled.
My Pro, my IS, my ISM, they're all milled.
Mm-hmm.
Why is the RC not milled?
Because the rack and pinion machine.
It's rack and pinion. Why? Because that rack and pinion can't hold the tolerance of the mill anyways.
Right.
So it's wasted labor.
Absolutely.
Right? I'm not going to charge you more money for less, right?
Absolutely.
So there's certain applications where it does make sense. But ask them why. Ask them why it's not milled. See what answer you get. Just make sure they understand why they're not doing it. You don't get a sales guy that says, yeah, no, you don't need to.
Right.
Well, why don't you need to? You just don't need to.
That's not
Why?
an acceptable answer.
Yeah, so make sure they understand what they're selling you. And then, when you look at it, start talking about engineering. Who engineered it? Did you engineer it in-house? Ask that question.
These are appropriate questions.
Yeah.
Some people might not be comfortable with this, but we encourage you.
Yeah.
Ask these questions.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, you're a sales guy. You can speak to this. I mean, if a guy asks you this on the phone, are you offended?
No, not at all.
Yeah. It's because you expect somebody who's investing this kind of money and time into something to ask questions.
Yep. Know what you're looking for. Know what you're looking at. It's too
Yep.
easy for the guy on the other end of the phone to take advantage of that, right? They
Yep.
know you don't know anything. Oh, yeah, it's made in America. Well,
Yep.
no, it's actually made in China. So
And the sad part is that's a real thing. People, make them prove they're in the U.S. Like that's what I say is like, prove it. Don't just show me a machine being put together. There's so many times that we hear from people like, oh, I went to their factory. I saw they're making them in the U.S. What did you see?
Right.
Well, they were putting the gantry on it. You do know they can't ship in a container with a gantry on it,
You
right?
saw them assembling.
Yeah, correct. Assembly is very different than making it in America. We weld things here. We paint them here. We build electrical panels here. There's a lot of difference in that. So when you look at the steel, make sure you see them building a frame, not just a bunch of frames standing there, right?
Yep.
Make sure you see somebody welding something, see something happening. We encourage that. We have videos on it here on our website.
Right, and if you question any of those, you can always call us as well. We have some documentations we can provide to show where your machine actually came from.
Yep, exactly. We got stuff for that. So that's the difference. Find that stuff out. And then, when you start looking at, basically at the end, looking at the terms of the warranty, find out what they're saying.
Yeah.
Find out, don't get fooled with this limited warranty stuff. If it says limited warranty, start reading it. Right? I'm not saying that everybody's limited warranties are garbage. Maybe somebody has a limited edition warranty out there, and maybe that's great. But find out, just ask them for a copy of it. Hey, can I read the warranty?
Absolutely.
See if there's anything in there that says manufacturer's defects, right?
Find those loopholes.
Yep. Where are they, cutting you out?
Yep.
Are you getting service for 1 year and then you have to pay for the next 5 years? Find those things out because ShopSabre, free lifetime support to the original user.
Free.
Is there a better price than free?
Nope.
Nope.
When do you get anything free anymore? Really free?
I know.
Never.
You don't see it anymore.
Awesome support for free?
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Yeah, sign me up. We have customers that will vouch for that it's really free and that it's really awesome.
Yeah.
So we are happy to show that off. So, there's a lot that we can bring to the table in terms of that. We got to talk about missing the little stuff, right? There's just little things that happen when you look at frames and you look at the way machines are built and it's just the little stuff. From the outside, the machines look the same.
Pretty close.
But you start taking off all the bolt-on stuff, right?
Yeah,
all
the
stuff
covers.
all the stuff meant to hide things from you and start looking at what the frame looks like and how it's manufactured. We encourage you, if you are down to buying a machine and ShopSabre is in the running, or even if we're not in the running, we
should
why
be.
not, but we should be. You should come here. Come see ShopSabre.
Come hang out with us.
Yeah, walk through the shop. We'll show you a frame.
It's a nice frame.
I promise you.
Show you a bunch of frames.
We'll show you all kinds of frames. But if you see our frames, there's no doubt that you're not going to then understand a lot of stuff we're talking about.
Right.
What we're saying it'll be one of those, aha, because it's so obvious when you see our frame. ShopSabre builds a machine that is meant to be better. And honestly, a lot of U.S. manufacturers don't put the time or energy into it because they don't have the technology.
We build them like they used to build them, you could say.
Yeah.
Right.
And nobody builds it like they used to. Well,
Except
ShopSabre
for
does.
ShopSabre.
We still do. We still build them like they used to. Actually,
Yep.
in fact, we don't build it like we used to. We're even better than we used to be, right? We
Yep.
keep getting better because today is the worst day, right? How many times have you heard me say that?
Yep.
Today is the worst day.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to be better tomorrow.
Yep.
Every single day we get better. That's our goal, is to continuously improve on our own way of doing things. We don't ever want to stand and say, we made it.
Well, we just don't get complacent.
Correct.
Yep.
You can't in this market because technology is advancing. If you're not advancing with it, you're falling behind it.
It's going to pass you.
Exactly. So you're either using a ShopSabre or you're watching somebody else use one. Because the reality is our goal is to continuously make our product better and make it so that anybody using our product can outwork their competition. And that's what we want.
I love it.
We're full of people here that just enjoy what we do. And let's be honest, we all want to win, right? Everybody likes
We
winning.
hate losing.
We hate losing. So the reality is we do what we can to make sure that we give our customers the tools so that they can always win.
But we've also got a product that makes it hard to lose.
Yeah.
If you really know what you're looking at, we have an
Exactly.
awesome product.
No, exactly. And we just talked about frames for 40 minutes.
We can keep going.
And I could keep going for another 40 minutes.
I'm sure you could, and I'd
But
be
I'm
sleeping.
confident that people probably have figured out that we know a little bit about frames.
A little bit.
There's a little
We
bit about
touched
it.
on a couple things.
But we got the holiday coming up next weekend.
We do.
So
And we might be late getting the next one out. I
we might
think.
be.
We might.
Let's be honest. We got to film this thing, and then we got to get Garrett to actually
That's the
edit
hardest
it.
part.
Garrett's going to probably be at his cabin.
Garrett, you coming in early to film this? No.
Garrett said no.
Yeah.
Garrett, are you going to come in on the holiday?
No!
Nope. He shook his head no at us again. I figured not. Social media guys these days.
Hard to find a good one.
Yeah, can't find a good one. But no, Garrett does a great job. Garrett, don't turn my mic off, please.
Check.
Is this thing on still? No! Anyways, the hope is that you guys will tune in next week. Like I said, we've had a lot of fun talking to you guys. We're going to be on episode 8.
We're at 8 already.
Next week is episode 8.
Wow.
I know we got kind of an exciting thing. We're going to come up in the next few weeks. I think it's a couple weeks out. We're talking about how to make CNC affordable.
Awesome.
Pretty excited about that one.
Special guest for that one?
We might.
Awesome.
Stay tuned. We're going to have a special guest for that one. But yeah, we got some stuff coming up that we're pretty excited about.
We still have demo days coming up?
Demo days. I was just going to touch on that. Don't forget, we have demo days coming up. That is going to be, in July? Yeah, we have it in July.
Yep.
Mid-July is where it's at. The 13th, 14th, 15th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you got it. Remember when we started? We didn't even know the dates or the month.
It took everything I had to remember those dates just now, just for the record, okay? I was like literally using parts of my brain I didn't know existed. I was like, oh, there it is. Got it. I had to move things out of the way, you know? Like, what did I eat for breakfast? Move that out of the way. I need to find those dates.
I knew you weren't talking about moving anything important.
No, absolutely not. But yeah, in all seriousness, like I said, we're gonna attack some more issues coming up in the next few weeks. We'd love to hear from you guys. You know, obviously, drop a comment, shoot us a message on our social media. I know Garrett's getting bored, so make sure you give him something to work for. You know, again, send us pictures of your CNC machines. We want to see stuff happening.
Yeah, I love seeing projects.
Yeah, especially ShopSabre users. You guys listening, send me some stuff. Send it to Garrett.
We still haven't seen anyone roast a hot dog.
Still have not seen a hot
machine.
dog roasted on a plasma. I'm really kind of disappointed.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's got to be a ShopSabre customer.
There's some guys out there I can think of that would do it.
Here's the deal. Somebody sent me a roasted hot dog picture this week on a plasma, and I got a ShopSabre hat that's coming your way.
Oh.
ShopSabre hat.
Awesome.
Let's just see those.
You got to cook the hot dog. The hot dog, the bun, the ketchup. You got to have it.
You got to post it.
Post it.
It's got to be posted.
Someone's
hashtag
getting a free ShopSabre hat.
ShopSabre. Hashtag Sabre Nation. Hashtag roasted hot dog.
Hashtag hot dog challenge.
Hashtag don't burn your machine, please.
Or your hands.
For the record, this just in. ShopSabre is not liable for anything that you do while roasting a hot dog. You are on your own. Be safe. Back to the show. So, with that, I'm Brandon.
I'm Jesse.
Thanks for talking shop with ShopSabre.